This video covers the process of updating firmware on Leica SmartWorks Viva software. It will also apply to Leica SmartWorks Viva Lite. It should be noted that in order to do a firmware update, the equipment must have a current software maintenance agreement, or CCP, and that all firmware needs to be common across all of the equipment if it's going to communicate. Now, the first step is to download the relevant files, and the way that we do this, we go onto the Leica My World website. This link is listed in the description below, and if you need some credentials for this website, you'll be able to get them from your Leica distributor. I've been taken to the welcome screen. If we want to have a look at our products, we need to select My Products on the left. This is a list of all the products that I currently have registered on My World. If your equipment's not listed here, it's because it hasn't been entered. If you select My Product at the bottom left, you'll be prompted to enter some reference information. In this case, I'm going to use the equipment number of a Leica TS15. Okay, I've currently got my products sorted by equipment number, so I'm just going to scroll down to the number that I just entered. You can see here that the instrument that I've just entered is highlighted in grey. If I select that, it'll take me to the overview screen. From the overview screen, we can see the software maintenance end. We can also see the keys for each of the licenses available. Now, we could enter these individually on the unit, or we could enter them all at once using a key file. Select Download Keys from the top of the screen. I'm just going to save that into my desktop. You can see here that the license key file is given the serial number of the instrument. The next step is to download the software, which includes firmware and applications. I'll select Software at the top. So we can see here in the software menu the release number. The current firmware at the time of recording is 5.61, but if you needed a different firmware version, you can select it from the drop down menu. And as I said, the firmware and applications are separate. You can download each of these by selecting Download, save them on your computer. The next step is to back up the data on the total station. With the data card or USB inserted, switch your total station on. From the user menu, select Tools and Utilities. And the tool that we want to use is Transfer User Objects. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer all objects from the internal memory to the SD card. If you've got a lot of data, you can transfer this as a zip file. Once it's completed, you'll be prompted with this message. And we don't want to transfer any more objects. Now I'm going to turn my total station off and remove the card. Back on my computer, I'm now going to insert my data card. It's appeared here. Here are all of the configurations and data files. I'm just going to highlight them all and create a backup. Now all of my data has been backed up. I'm just going to format the card before I do the firmware update. When formatting, it should be noted that the file system should be FAT32. As you can see, the data card's now empty. I'm going to recreate the folder that was there before, called System. Now this is the directory that's used for all firmware updates and for key files. I'm just going to copy firmware and key files into this directory. We're now ready to do the firmware update on the instrument, so I'm going to remove the card. With the data card inserted, I'm now going to turn the instrument back on. And I'm going to format the system RAM. I'm going to select User and select Tools and Utilities, and then option 5, Format Data Storage. The memory device I'm going to format is the system. I'm just going to select F1 OK. Then I'm going to select Yes, F6. Now that we've formatted the system RAM, I'm going to install the license key. So from the Tools and Utilities menu, I'm going to select option 3, Load License Keys, and rather than entering them manually, we're going to use the key file. Select F1 OK, and you'll be prompted to let you know that license keys have loaded. The next step is to upload the firmware. This can take some time, so it's important to make sure that you've got plenty of battery. Object transfer is firmware, and it's going to be transferred from the SD card. You can see here the firmware version is correct, so I'm just going to select OK. It'll prompt you to let you know that it's going to restart the instrument during the process. Do we wish to continue? Yes. The firmware update has been completed. We're now going to install the applications. So back into Tools and Utilities, Load Firmware Apps. This time we're going to select Apps from the drop down menu. Now you can upload each of your apps individually if you like, or you can just upload them all at once by ticking this box. Select F1 OK. Quick sanity check to make sure that all the applications have installed is to select Go to Work. You can see here that they've all been loaded. Just select Back. Another good check is to select the User menu and select option 6, About Like Aviva. If we page across to the SmartWorks Viva tab, we can see that the firmware version is 5.61. We can see what license keys have been loaded on this instrument.